On the night of June 12, 2020, Rayshard Brooks, a 27-year-old African-American man, was fatally shot by Atlanta Police Department officer Garrett Rolfe. Fellow officer Devin Brosnan had responded to a complaint that Brooks was asleep in a car blocking a restaurant drive-through lane. Rolfe arrived after Brosnan radioed for assistance some minutes later. After a breathalyzer exam indicated that Brooks' blood alcohol content was above the legal limit for driving, Rolfe and Brosnan began to handcuff Brooks. Brooks scuffled with the officers, got a hold of Brosnan's taser, punched Rolfe, and ran. With Rolfe pursuing him, Brooks half-turned and fired the taser toward Rolfe, who then shot Brooks twice from behind while a third shot struck an occupied car. Brooks died after surgery.
Into the dialogue. As you read that shit, like I got in like a somber mood inside. Like we were so jolly before, and like as you read it, I started to think about the shit that I watched, and I was like, holy shit. But yeah, you mind if I start?
Yeah,
you already started.
Yeah, you already started.
But as I watched that video, it's 47 minutes, and as I watched it, at no point, I thought to myself, when is this gonna turn sour? Like, where is it gonna go left? Because it was just so much time that they spent with the guy, cordial, like you, didn't seem like a threat at all. It was just interesting how, like, I knew the inevitable, but I watched the entire 47 minutes to be like, where did it become necessary to pull out the hammer?
And after 47 minutes, you realize that within that time period, they had a chance to either escort him home, give him another ride,
to make him call a family member,
They
can come get him.
They should have arrested him. I'll say that. Because in the footage, like they said in what you just read, he was found in the drive-thru. Like he's like sleep in the drive-thru, and people like are driving around him to order their food.
But then that's when we question legality, right? Which is like, if your car isn't on and you just sleeping in your car, what crime are you breaking?
You're not doing anything wrong by that.
You're not driving. You're not trying to drive away.
But the officer was saying, "Well, you drove to get here, and you drove your car."
But that's when we get into these like over policing moments, right? Which is like you looking for a crime that don't exist. You ever seen the movie Minority Report?
Yeah. No, but what I'll say is that I'm not looking for a crime. I was called to the scene because somebody from Wendy's was like, there's traffic in the drive-thru because someone is asleep in their car.
Yeah. But what does that have to do with me driving there to begin with?
That's what I'm saying.
That's not what they got called for. They got called for him already parked.
So then when I get there, you're asleep in your car. Okay, am I the only person that watched the movie?
No.
Like,
I get what you're saying, and in defense of you, like, you gotta understand, he's at the drive-thru, not in the parking lot.
If he's in the parking lot asleep, they're in the wrong. But what I'm saying is,
the actual drive-thru,
we're here because you fell asleep in your car. So
I don't think his car is even off at this time.
Thank God you fell asleep in the drive-thru as opposed to if you got on the road and fell asleep on the road somewhere. So what I'm saying is that it's not like they walked up to his car and he's sleeping in his car. He's in the drive-thru.
They honking the horns because his shit is stuck
In the middle,
order.
Parallel. It's not like he fell asleep ordering. He's like parallel cutting the cars off. Car facing the Wendy's like this, and people are like having to drive around him. So it's not like you fell asleep making an order and you like, yeah, I fell asleep at the window. It's like, you don't even look like you're trying to make an order. It looks like you just fell asleep. That's what I'm getting at.
So there's probable cause to arrest him.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So then why not arrest him?
I agree with you 100%. No way. And I should have prefaced it initially by
saying I don't think they should. It depends on the time period you saying arrest him, because I think they question him first because there is a chance that he may have been tired.
I think
you got to question that first.
In watching it,
if somebody's coming home from work late, all right, let me give them the chance, and they're protecting themselves in that aspect.
In watching it, when I say, and I'm like critiquing it, but it's like it shouldn't have been 47 minutes long. You know he's drunk within the first 10 minutes. He's telling you somebody dropped me off here. I had a couple margarita, and then they asked him again. He's like, nah, he named another drink. A Bahama something. He named another drink, and then he was like, but you just told me a margarita. Yeah, it was a lot of inconsistencies, and that's why I felt like it was like teetering a line a little bit as the cop, because I don't know if he was being condescending by continuing to ask, or he's like, hold on, no, but that's what I'm saying. But in a sense, it's like, I know the times.
Yeah,
it's like I gotta go through this thoroughly, and like I watched him, like give it its all, like yo. So you saying this, I'm asking you this, like continue to like reiterate it, Like, and that's why I said it was really weird because it was like very like.
I think it's a balance of both, though.
It was both sides. It wasn't nowhere.
They gotta protect their ass, like you said, in the times we're in now. So and we on camera. They know that the camera's up. You know what I'm saying?
And the way it started is initially there's one cop that gets there initially, and he's like, "Yo." So what happens is he walks up to him and is like, "Yo," knocks on the window, wakes him up. "Yo, you in the car, sleep in the drive-thru." He like, "Oh shit." He like, "All right, move it over here, pull over." Niggas like, "No,
that's
hold
another
on,
stupid
hold
part,
on."
bro.
Niggas like, "All right, bet." Yo, the cop closes the door. He walks away. The nigga falls asleep again. The cop gotta walk to the car like, "My man, you fell asleep again. Please move your car over here. Like, you in a drive-thru."
So that's what I'm saying. That's the done deal.
That's what I'm saying. He should be arrested. But that cop is not a sobriety officer. So he had to call a sobriety officer and say, "Hey, I may have a drunk person here. Can you come and run these tests?" So the whole time he's talking to him like, "Yo, let me get your license." Yo, and he's chill. And the guy gets out the car. He's like, "I need you to stay in the car." Blah, 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 blah. And it was like, "Alright." And then like he gets in the car and he gets out again. And the cop's like, "Yo, just get in the
Here's where I'm
car."
confused, right? So, and this is where it doesn't get that complicated, right? Because when we first started having this conversation, the flag or whatever the dispute is impediment of traffic, right?
Yes.
That's what we just said, right?
Initially,
Like the call was put out for impediment of traffic.
Yes.
So why are we doing all this extra shit?
So what do you think happened? Well, I don't
If
think
he
it was.
impeded traffic and then they told him to wake up and he still impeded traffic, that's the violation right there.
Okay, but I think that's what alludes to what PJ was saying, where it's like, okay, are you on meds? Like, what's going on? Like, I just walked away from your car and you fell back asleep. So if the first time you tell him get up and he pull off or get in the spot, I get that. But the fact that you fell asleep 3 seconds after I walk away from your car, I gotta see what's going on here. Like, are you on meds?
There's no going on. No matter what conclusion you come to on that, if that's a crime, because if you're on meds and that's still like you driving under the influence, that's still a
Yeah, but that's a ticket though. So if
that's a DUI.
You know what I'm saying? Impediment of traffic is a ticket. So if you're saying it's done right there, I write him a ticket and I leave. Nah, I can't do that. I just saw you fall asleep twice behind the wheel. I can't just write you a ticket and be like, on my way. There's no way you expect that to happen.
I got a little bit of an issue with them even allowing him to park because he could have took the fuck off. You know what I'm saying? I think that they should have removed him from the car from the jump.
But the car's in the way. So then you got to get in his car.
That's what I'm saying. I need to.
But so, there was one cop there though. So when they got there was only one cop. So for him to say, "Yo, get out the car, let me move it, you stand right here," doesn't really make
No, you can handcuff his ass.
Nigga, take off the handcuffs.
Man, listen.
I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. Now you get into
If he's
the
drunk and
minutia,
handcuffed, how far you gonna get?
the minutia of like where does logic come in and protocol go out?
Handcuff him, put him in your car. Let me move this car.
I understand. Where does logic come in?
So
I've gotten arrested for a suspended license on 25th, right on 25th. And the precinct was 3 blocks away. They didn't let me drive my car there, and it was 3 cops.
Oh, so you're saying him letting him drive over? Well, this is my thing though. You don't hold on. This is why I'm on the cop side here, where it's like I'm not gonna make the assumption you drunk. So I think you fine enough to move your car over there.
But you already did because you called a sobriety officer.
No, I called him after. So in the video, he calls him after. So he's like, "Hey," he handles it, make sure he pulls over. Then he goes up to the car like, "Yo, let me get your ID." Starts talking to him. He's like, "Yo, small up a little bit," and you hear him talking to himself like, "Yo, do I really want to?" So he walks back to the car. And he's like, "Yo, do I really want to do this?" Like it's crazy. Like you hear him talking to
I hear you.
and he's like, "Fuck it." So then he calls the sobriety officer after he done moved over and double parked because he's like, "This guy can't drive home." Like he's talking to him. The guy's like, yeah, my sister dropped me off here and I came to get burgers, but then I called her, but she didn't pick up, so I was gonna wait till she called me back. We stand right there." So then like I said, it shouldn't have resulted in death.
So again, for me, it's this: when do we throw the protocols out the window and use our logic? How long does it take you to figure out how to do this drunk?
After the second knockout,
It'll take you 2 minutes to realize
So-
someone's under some kind of influence.
So the first cop, like I said, I don't think he was a sobriety officer. So I don't think he makes that. Hold on. So this.
I know what you mean about the sobriety officer, but we're just saying like,
As a human being,
exactly.
you see somebody stumbling around.
No, but what I'm saying is he called the sobriety officer because they run the test. So they don't just they can't just say, "Yo, you drunk." It don't work like that. So I have to call somebody to run these tests on you because I can't just make a judgment call off the eye test. Yeah, I see what y'all saying. Like, we could tell if PJ was drunk here.
We're talking about humans. Humans talking about humans.
But there's a protocol though.
But that's literally what we're discussing right now.
But protocol, at the end of the day, they didn't follow protocol by shooting him in the back. But protocol is to shoot to disarm if necessary.
No, cops are trained
to.
No, cops are trained to kill. They're not trained to shoot in the body. To my knowledge, I thought they were trained to kill.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, they're not. Are they trained to
No, they're trained to kill.
What I was told is that they're supposed to shoot other words and not shoot to kill first.
Oh, yeah. I think she's actually right. They're trained to wound.
Exactly. You wound a person.
Yeah, but
subdue the person.
I just feel like in that situation, when his back is against him, that's a different kind of type of murder. Because like, if he's not even facing them, that
no, but
not threatening you.
What you read though is that he turned around and shot the taser. Remember what you read is that he turned around and shot the taser.
We're talking about a taser compared to
no,
bullets.
I agree with you. But what I'm saying is that he wasn't running off and they shot him in his back. Yeah. He turned around and let the taser off and then they shot him. Now I'm not warranting that. I'm not saying it was okay. They shot him. That's what I'm saying. In my opinion, is I think that they need. I forgot what they're calling them, but like crisis, something like that, where it's not like a cop shows up. There's no reason that somebody needs to show up with a gun to a scene like that. That's my like overall thing. You don't need to shoot nobody, but I just think that a cop, not one doesn't need to waste his time with that, but it's like someone who is trained to deal with like drunk people.
So that also goes into the whole conversation of defunding of the police.
Yeah.
Into
exactly.
Resources,
you need to put money into those services.
Yeah.
Because I guess we can all come to the consensus that the police forces are stretched to begin with if they have to answer calls like that or calls of domestic disputes and other things of that nature.
Yeah, I agree.
With no training behind it.
Yeah, I agree 100% because when the sobriety officer got there, it was like he did the protocol, asked all the questions, made him do the test, and any of us could do something like that. Yeah. You know, when I ask those questions, we'll run the test, whatever the case may be, and we're law-abiding citizens, I'm going to let them off.
And I didn't watch the entirety of the video, right? So after the sobriety officer gets there, he runs the test. Or
he talks to him, and he's like, okay.
It's been established that this person is under the influence.
He asks him where you at, he don't know where you're at.
So at that point, what were the actions taken?
So he tells him, he explains to him nice and clearly, you're about to take a sobriety test. I'm going to ask you to do several things. He explains it thoroughly. He's like, he explains the
No, I'm saying after the whole thing is done. After it's been established that he's drunk.
Okay, so he's like, sir, after he does a breathalyzer, he lets him talk, and he's like, you drunk. I'm going to arrest you. And the body cam shows him like,
wait, let's take a step back, because I did see the part with the breathalyzer and the whole conversation, the interaction going on between there. It was, if I can recall correctly, he asked him multiple times if he wanted to agree to a breathalyzer test, right? And what was his responses to that?
He was just like, I guess, I don't want to say no. It was like a weird, awkward thing, but it was a weird line of questioning too, because he even asked him when he was like telling him to do the steps thing. He was like, yeah, are those shoes comfortable? And the guy was like, because they're new. I've been wearing them all day, and it was just like kind of look weird.
What is the protocol for someone who denies to take a breathalyzer test?
I just think that it's
I think it's something like their license gets revoked, and they have to show up to court or something along those lines.
Oh, you talking about somebody gets
No, they say no. I don't want to take it.
Oh yeah.
Because you copping to being drunk, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after that happened, he talked to him again, and they had like a little bit of minimum communication. Nothing disrespectful, nothing crazy.
And he takes the breathalyzer.
He takes it, does it.
And it shows what they...
And the dude's like, how many drinks have you had? And he was like, 1.5, 2, a couple. And the dude was like, so is it 1, 1.5, 2, or a couple? And the dude was like...
That now was after the breathalyzer?
That was after the breathalyzer.
Why does that matter?
Because I guess he's like letting the guy trying to explain this. Like literally, that's why it was so weird, because it was like, could it be taken as condescending? Kinda, but in the other hand, it's like, yo, if he just jumps on and be like, yo, you drunk, goes under arrest, it's like, we'll look at him and be like, yo, you wrong, you just assumed he was drunk. But it's like the fact that he went through every single protocol, triple explained himself, did everything.
I mean, it's not an assumption after that. After the breathalyzer testing.
You're drunk or you're not. So, to fact that you have to even ask, like, how many did you have?
After all of that, it's no longer an assumption, I would say.
It can become a condescending, I guess, to ask him again. But then
Next to that,
he reached for him.
Him being condescending, do you think that played a part in Rayshard's reaction? The condescending part, I mean.
No, because I don't think he was in a space to understand what was happening. But you can tell by his mind.
He still seemed like he was. I don't think he was completely.
He was completely.
So
like if you watch the thing, like he asked him.
But back to the whole breathalyzer thing and him like answering and not wanting to say no.
Yeah,
right?
but it was like I said.
It doesn't seem like he was completely unaware of what could happen.
It seemed more of a state of confusion. Then, because like PJ just asked, he was like, yo, what's the protocol if you say no? I think that's what he was getting at, where it was like, why are you asking me? Do I have the option to say no? Like, that's why, and I feel like it would have thrown me off too.
That's a very legitimate question, though.
Yeah, so that's why it may seem like, yo, he was able to communicate, but even through the communication and the whole, like, that was the thing to me, where it's like, it's a 47-minute video, and it's like, yo, in 20 minutes, this could have been like arrested and gone. You know what I mean? Because you know, he's drunk. You know what I
would
mean?
rather him just been arrested after he failed the test, taken to the thing, leave the car there, tell them somebody will come, impound it.
So
I really hate to sound. I really hate to sound like I'm defending this cop in any way. But when you go back to Malik's original point, the times that we are in, I personally feel that he was, in a sense, trying to play it as safe as possible.
Because the body cam is on.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
I can understand that, but if we would go back to what's one of the basic vows that they take to protect and serve, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Was it established that there was no?
That's the thing. Is like, even if you get hit with a taser, there's no reason to end someone's life.
So this.
No, I'm not even talking about the whole taser thing. I'm talking about like once it's been established that he was under the influence, right, through the test and the sobriety officer.
Yeah.
And then it was also established before he even ran away that there wasn't any clear and present danger, right? To the point where he was offering to walk home by himself, and he says his sister lived up the block. That could have been
It was
easily
false because he was like, "What hotel is it?" And
well, that could have been easily proven, right, by them putting him inside the patrol car and him driving to whatever address that he gave them,
Exactly.
right? And at that point, even if it was a lie, he was already in their custody, and they could have took him to prison and XYZ.
Yeah.
When it comes down to what PJ said about like, what was the comment you just made about
defending
the cop about.
As far as like,
sure.
made him
Go through the protocol.
Yeah, because we're in difficult times, right?
Yeah.
But it just goes to show what we're saying about the concept of what is policing and what is protect and serve, which is like, that means you took all the precautions you think you were supposed to take and you still failed.
Yeah.
That means you went, I'm going to do everything correct and you still got it wrong.
Exactly.
That's not even, and this is where it gets a little bit more tricky, right? That's not even on the cop, bro. That's just
because that's a wider look
taught
at the
him
system
is wrong.
I agree with you because of what we taught him, because in the sense of the fact that, because what they're probably going to court and say is like, yo, I was in danger, he had a taser. But it's like, even at the end of the day, y'all get tased in training as a cop.
But then also, like,
they literally tase you.
There's also two of you
in training as a cop, and there's two of you, one taser.
And how effective is someone, a pedestrian, grabbing a taser going to be on you? They don't even know how it actually operates.
Even if he's, like I said, he punched him and everything, that's cool, but it's like, it's two of y'all, he's drunk, he's only gonna get so far. Like, he's literally...
He's probably gonna stumble over and fall on his own 2 feet.
Precisely. And that's why it's so weird, and that's why the concept where people be like, yo, people who become cops are like people who are bullied and stuff, because it's like, yo, you pulled out your gun and killed this dude because of what? Because he did what? Because you was weak enough to let him take your taser, and then you killed him.
These motherfuckers killed him today. It was
If you
out of
want to
shape.
talk
They
about
couldn't catch him.
protocol, he
What are you
followed the
saying?
protocol just to cover his ass, and then towards the end, just threw it out the book. So if you're gonna say that you follow protocol, you have to follow protocol through the entire process, and not just say, oh, "Okay, I guess you threw a taser at me. I'm gonna shoot you in the back."
I can see protocol though.
Because in terms of like the training, from what I can recall, aren't they also taught like what's it called, like a method of escalation? So if they pull out a weapon, then they pull out the cop will pull out a stick. If they pull out like a stick or a knife or something, the cop just pull out a gun. So I can see it from that perspective, but at the same time, in terms of his physical state and his mental state,
I don't believe that he was a threat. Like, I don't understand
He
how.
was not.
who someone who is literally asking 4 questions about where he's at, and he's like telling you, and that's like us being in Harlem right now, and him being like, I'm in Brooklyn. No, I'm in Brooklyn. And you're like, yo, you're in Harlem. Like, I know we're Harlem.
Let me ask you a weird question. Does human nature count? And I'm asking that in terms of the embarrassment.
In terms of who's doing the job?
In terms of me and you are cops, and we just gotta ask what about a drunk guy? Does human nature kick in when it's like embarrassment?
That's less human nature. I would say more ego.
That's ego. That's not nature.
I just don't know how it escalates from like at the end of it. I was like,
yeah,
yo, because
I think ego's the answer.
The video is 47 minutes. The death happened in the last 45 a minute and a half, like in that range, and you just sit there and all like, yo, that went 0 to 100. Like, what just happened? And yeah, it's like, I just think that a crisis manager, whatever they're calling those people, need to show up to things like that, because at no point is it necessary to eat. How bad do you want to catch a drunk guy? Like, on foot? Like, even if he runs away, I don't want, me personally, it's like, I don't want to book him that bad to kill him. It's like, let him get away, the car's here. You know what I mean? It's not like,
you got all this information.
yeah, precisely. You got us all this information.
That's why I say. That's why I say ego plays the part. You got
the whole. Sorry.
Yeah. She was saying you have the ID. You can know who it is.
No, I was saying this whole conversation about protocol and how it was executed reminds me of a example of friends. Recently they had somebody like stealing packages from their building, and they were able to corner the person. They called the cops. The cops get there, and they're like speaking to this dude, in front of their building. And then there's like a quick second where I think they're not like really paying attention, and he just runs off. And then one of the cops goes to chase him, but he takes like 1 or 2 steps and he stops chasing him. The other cop doesn't really do anything, and my friend is like, yo, what are you doing? Chase him. And I believe what they said his response was like, oh, I can't step on his diaphragm or do some kind of shit that cops would normally do to subdue the whoever the person is. And he's like, I can't do that, and I don't want to risk my job, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. So the only way you can detain a person is by crushing the diaphragm or whatever fucking technique that you had to...
It's weird, though, because
it doesn't make sense.
As a cop, though, it's like, well, what can I do? Like, think about it, if you're chasing somebody, how you get them down?
From that, based off the training that you have, I can understand that. Like, if all I've been trained is to, like, incapacitate in these certain ways, and now I can't do that...
You're like, what moves do I have in my arsenal here?
Do the other dude there.
Y'all
want to help?
Y'all want to help. That's honestly, in retrospect, that's a smart fucking move.
So I just want to say my last thought is that, yeah, at no point did I feel that it was warranted to end his life, because there was never a threat. A drunk guy on foot with a taser against 2 police officers and back up around the corner. Never.
There's been guys with holding machetes that have
lived.
White guy.
I mean, when you
make that clear, white.
Honestly, when you put that in contrast, when you use this and contrast it to individuals who have murdered people in a church and then was taken and basically hand-fed Burger King, I don't think there's much.
You said they was hungry.
It's like.
The video that kills me is the white dude. He beats them up and takes their vehicle for a ride. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Or even the example of it happened a while ago. I think they were trying to detain some white woman in a parking lot, and she was advancing on them, and the cop keeps on like backing up before he pulls out his taser and he tases her. After he tases her, she falls and she's still trying to like resist, but they get in and they handcuff her. Right?